We've got two research projects that we wanted to briefly go over. One, I will not go into a great deal of detail because it is already in your book. Most of the data is in there. And that was the board survey that was co-sponsored by this organization, corporate board member. The second piece of research involved face-to-face structured interviews with CEOs who were within 5 years of their ascension to that role. So their recollections of that process were relatively fresh. The first board survey included 245 board members and CEOs who were also on boards. And the survey focused on factors that the board members thought were critical ingredients in the CEO successions in which they participated. First thing we did was we asked them to take a look at factors that we thought were involved and to ask them to pick the one factor that they felt contributed most to the success of their most recent interaction or integration. As you can see, the alignment between the board and the CEO on strategy and direction was by far the most frequently named success factor from the board's perspective, followed very closely by clarity of expectations. Clearly, the implication there is that frequent, candid communication between the board and the CEO are critical to make those things happen. This whole issue of alignment clearly is a theme that runs through all of our research and our experience. And if you read the popular press, that theme often comes up when we talk about a CEO who's leaving, any kind of a CEO separation. We next asked the directors to choose from a list of resources that were offered by the company to the new CEO in the course of the transition. About 50% of the boards indicated that some particular services were offered to the CEO in the process of the transition. The resource most often named was an internal mentor, and by far most of the time that turned out to be a board member who was assigned as a mentor to the new CEO. Interestingly enough, 50% indicated that no particular resources were offered to this new CEO. Many of those people talked about the fact that this was an internal transition, that the new CEO was familiar with the organization, with the people, with the culture, et cetera, and no real special services were necessary in that case. Our position's a little different. We believe that adjusting to the CEO role is a big challenge. You are. Our position is that moving into the CEO role is not just more of the same. It's very different. And you know, the experience of new CEOs, as many of you know, it can be somewhat overwhelming. I remember interviewing a woman who had just become CEO, and we were talking about her transition, and I asked what she did on her first day, and she said she closed the door and she spent about an hour thinking about her company car. She wanted something concrete to deal with that morning. Not an uncommon experience. So having some help dealing with the challenges that come up with moving into that role for the first time is critical, regardless of whether it's an internal or an external. The relationships change. There's a whole new set of external relationships and stakeholders that have to manage. You have to learn how to deal with the board. And moving away from the day-to-day activities is a huge challenge. Many of the boards in the survey said that they extended an open invitation to the new CEO for advice and counsel, but very little structure was added to that invitation. Our position is that, and many times, it was up to the CEO to initiate the contact with the board member. It was not a very structured kind of a thing. Our recommendation would be that the best of all possible worlds is where you could match up the experience and the skills of the board member to the needs of the CEO coming in, rather than kind of leaving that up to fate. So that's a very, very brief review of the board director survey, and as I said, a lot of the detail is in that report.